Welcome back to George, and welcome to all of our attendees. So today we're going to start off with Queen Hatshepsut, one of the first female pharaohs who ruled Egypt and her temple. And then we're going to see one of the most beautiful tombs in the Valley of the Queens, which is just on the other side of the hill of the Valley of the Kings, of Queen Nefertari. She was married to Ramses the Great, also known as Ramses II. So welcome, George. We're excited to get started.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everyone who sent me a message. I felt much better since I've read all your messages. It was very kind. Thank you very much for your support, and I'm really pleased with all of your messages. Get ready for today, because today we're going to go to somewhere very special. It's the temple of the Queen Hatshepsut. Let's get started. Who wants to pronounce her name first? Hatshepsut. If you want to divide it into 3 parts, it's going to be much easier for you if you started to divide it into 2 parts. This is the place where we're going to explore today. This is when it's lit up at night, and it consists of 3 floors. The first floor and the middle floor, this is where we're going to focus today in our tour. And this is where we're going to see the carving and the painting. The 3rd floor, it's all used to have statues for the Queen Hatshepsut. And this place was open without a roof to receive the sunlight during the daytime. The funeral temple of the Queen Hatshepsut. When it was first discovered, it wasn't look like this. It was first visited and discovered by the French expedition by Napoleon, and they found the temple was looking like this. Look, it's all totally covered up with sand, and the whole 3 floors, which is almost like 60 foot high, very huge, very tall. It's always totally covered up with the sand. Somewhere was forgotten for many years, and the sand will start to cover it all. And many years later, the Christianity appeared in Egypt around the 4th century. They constructed a small monastery on top of the sand level. But then the discovery of the temple started, and the first idea of the discovery, let's appreciate the work of this French archaeology, Gaston Maspero. Gaston Maspero in 1850, he started cleaning some of the sand, but with the less number of the workers, they could not clean much of the temple. They managed to clear only the 1st floor of the temple. Another 50 years later, an English expedition from the English Society of Fund, they've hired a Swiss archaeology. His name is Edward Neville. Edward Neville, he started in 1890, cleaning the 2nd floor of the temple. And during his time, this is how he found the temple. The sand was reaching all the way to reach to the top of the columns, and they started taking all the sand and the dust from the whole temple. And they even built a railway tracks to carry these heavy blocks of stone outside the temple. Howard Carter, the one who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun, but this is when before he started his work on the Valley of the King. He was like the right assistant of the Swiss archaeology of the temple, and cleared the 2nd floor of the temple. And this has happened in 1890, all the way to 1910. In 1910, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, they've sent their legendary Egyptology, Mr. Herbert Winlock. This is his picture. He worked there for 25 years, clearing the sand of the temple. And the temple and the whole site became remarkable with the house he built in order to receive all the archaeology and all the experts who wanted to work with him. This is the old house, which is dating back to 1912. Still exists in a great condition, built by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it took them 2 years to construct it. The temple, when it was originally built in the old days, I want to tell you this is the shape of the 3rd floor, which we're going to explore. in order to prepare you before we enter how the archaeology they found the temple on the beginning. Only the granite gate was exist. All the statues and all the columns was badly damaged. And this little tower there, this is the only remains of the old monastery, which is dating to the beginning of Christianity around 4th century AD. So the Metropolitan Museum, they paid the monastery money in order to knock it down and to buy the whole area and to start to dig underneath. And lots of things were found in this whole area, because I want to tell you that the whole area used to look like this. When the temple was constructed, it was this one. This is the one we're going to explore, dating back to the 18th dynasty, to the time of the Queen Hatshepsut. There were an older temple was exist here earlier, around 500-year older temple dating back to Amenhotep from the 11th dynasty. So he's from the 11th dynasty. She's from the 18th dynasty. She had a famous follower who came after her. His name Tutmosis III. And I'll tell you about the relation between both. He built this one, which is in between. So each time, if you want to look at his achievement, his structures, look where she built her place. She's his stepmother, and they were having a kind of conflict about ruling the empire. That's why after she died, every place she built something, he must come and build something next to her. So the oldest structure was dating back to 2000 BC. Was built here earlier. As you can see, it was a beautiful garden, and it's supposed to be a canal goes all the way to the River Nile. The second temple built in this area, it's Hatshepsut. So this is one of the reasons why she choosing the site here. She choosing a holy location already was exist earlier from the time of Imhotep, 2000 BC. 500 years later, she built her temple here. After she died, the last temple and the most modern temple constructed dating back to Tutmosis III, it was here. How this site used to look like. This is her temple, because she described this temple to be as a paradise and a beautiful garden to her father, Amun-Ra. All the kings and all the pharaohs was considered to be the sons of Amun-Ra. So she built this to honor her father, Amun-Ra, the god of Karnak. I want to tell you that these places were chosen after lots of studies, because it's not just any location in here. This is the whole three temples again. The oldest one, 2000 BC, 1400 BC, and then 1300 BC, the temple of Tutmosis III constructed. 11th dynasty, 18th dynasty temple. I want to tell you straight ahead on the other side, in the east bank, Karnak temple located. So to be like two holy places, one in the east and one in the west, the River Nile in the middle, and they both like facing each other. So this is also one of the other reasons to build the temple here. Around the mountain, there were lots of chapels similar to this one of Hathor. So this is the third reason of constructing the temple here. There were lots of small holes in the mountain with a full shape of a cow standing in front, and the wall surrounded was beautifully painted. There were hundreds of those. So before these temples were built, I mean the whole three temples were constructed. Before the whole three temples were constructed, this is another picture. Because believe the oldest temple used to have a beautiful pyramid in its middle, which is not much left. I will show you which is left of this temple. That in the whole mountain here, around the whole area today, we're going to see a lot of those like this. A shrine, similar to this one. This is when it's restored and cleaned and beautifully preserved. You see the color. And in front of this little cave is going to be a standing statue for the cow goddess. So the whole mountain originally believed that the cow goddess, Hathor, worshipped there. And Hathor was the main goddess of the whole mountain. During this day, she was worshipped as a goddess of healing. So people from every place in the whole country, they were coming in big boats, asking for the power of the goddess Hathor to heal them from many sickness. So before the place was used as a place to construct temples in it, it was lots of small shrines for the goddess Hathor. So now we have three reasons of constructing the temple here. Before we enter the temple, we cannot forget about this is how she made it and how she became the ruler of Egypt. A quick idea about the family of the Queen Hatshepsut, because I want to tell you that her father was called Tutmosis I. Tutmosis I, he had daughter and son. His daughter was called Hatshepsut, and his son's names of pharaohs because it's very difficult. But I want you to just to focus with Tutmosis I. He was his father, her father. The father, he used to have a daughter and a son. It was very normal during these days the sister to marry her brother after the father he died in order to be the king of Egypt. So after Tutmosis I died, Tutmosis II followed his father. In order to be the king of Egypt, he got to marry a full royal blood, his sister, and she got this, if you remember, I told you they call it the blue blood, which is the royal blood. So it was normal to the royals, only royals, to marry each other. Sister, she married her brother Tutmosis. The result of this marriage, they had only a daughter. This daughter called Nefertari. Nefertari, if you notice, she's a full royal blood. But Tutmosis II, he married another wife. She's called Isis. And Isis is from the commoner. She's not royal. Tutmosis III. Easy. The grandfather was called Tutmosis I. The father was called Tutmosis II. And the grandson was called Tutmosis III. But Tutmosis III, he's half royal, half common. In order to make him able to follow Tutmosis II and ruling, Tutmosis III, he married his sister Nefertari. What I'm trying to say, I want you to get the idea of the relation between Hatshepsut and Tutmosis III. You know, they are family related to each other. She's this wife of his father, so she's a stepmother. And also she's the mother of his wife. So she's his mother-in-law. Also, she could be his auntie because she's originally the sister of his father. So the auntie, the mother-in-law, and the stepmother, she used her name because Tutmosis II, he ruled for very short timing, only a few years, but he suddenly disappeared. And Hatshepsut, she became the ruler of Egypt because Tutmosis III, he was only 12 years old when he started to rule. That's why she used her name with the name of Tutmosis III as the king and the queen of Egypt. But then this has happened for only a few years. He disappeared, Tutmosis III, and she became the ruler of Egypt alone. And then the queen, she decided to build her temple, and the one who designed and he built her temple, I wanted to highlight a very famous name of an engineer called Senenmut, or let's call him Senmut. Senmut is the second most famous engineer in all this very long history in Egypt, because he's the one who came after Imhotep, the one who built the first pyramid. It's called the Step Pyramid. So Senenmut, he's the genius engineer who's been inspired by the old structure was exists earlier in here to design his temple to be similar to the one was exists. The terraces shape, he's inspired by this shape of the terraces to make temple of Hatshepsut to look like the terraces. Senenmut, all of his statue, he was represented with engineer of the Queen Hatshepsut, and also was like the master of and the teacher of the daughter of the king, of the queen, Nefertari. We show you another picture of him. This is exists in the Egyptian museum these days. Look, the one block of the stone, they both united together to make them look like one thing. The master and the young child. If you notice, the young child, she got something around his ear, her ears. This is the symbol of childhood. So all the royal sons and the daughters who got royal bloods, they used to shave their heads bald and they leave only a side hair lock to go around the ears. This is a symbol of childhood and the symbol of royalty as well. Let's get started now. But I want to tell you that during these days, we discovered many things around the site, like the mask of the mother of the engineer, Senmut, the way to discover around the site of Hatshepsut. We not only found her mask, we found a beautiful necklace. You can see this necklace if you go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York these days, together with this beautiful piece of a chair of the mother of the engineer. So you can imagine how strong he was, the engineer, how important he was. Even he was coming from a commoner family. His family was not rich, they were not royal, but because of his strong talent, he became a very important person. I want to remind you again with his name called Senmut. Senmut discovered the temple, built the temple of the Queen Hatshepsut, and let's get started now. And I'm ready if you want to ask about any question about the background. We're going to mention it now.
Okay, well, one question is, before Hatshepsut was pharaoh, what would she be doing? Did she have a job?
Yes, she's the daughter of the king Tutmosis III, and Tutmosis I, sorry, the daughter of Tutmosis III, and one of the royal names, she was the chantress of the god Amun-Ra. This is one of her titles. So she was like a high priestess in the temple of Amun-Ra.
Okay, another question was...
And also she was...
Oh, sorry.
Yes, and she was highly educated. Also, she was busy to take the lessons in the royal court because one of the important things to read and to write hieroglyphs. So she was a kind of doing her role to be ready for the moment to be a ruler one day. Tell me, ma'am.
The necklace that you showed, was there something on it?
Yes, it was a heart scarab beetle inside. And the other side, it's all written by the magical formulas of offerings, because those words is going to be real one day, and the magic going to return it to real, to be like never stop giving offering.
The last question.
Any more question before?
There's one more question before you move on, and that is, did all royals marry within their family?
Yes, especially if there is half of his blood is not complete. So if the father and the mother are royal, then he don't have to marry his sister. He can marry another one. But if the mother, she's from the commoner and the father from the royal, then he's half royal, half common. So he got to marry a full royal blood sister or from any of the royal family in order to complete the royal blood. Here we go. Let's start it now. Get ready. We're going to start. You know what these halls are. Those halls, this is the chapels of Hathor. You're going to see many of them. But I want, before we started, to show you the location of the tomb of the genius engineer. If you still remember his name, he's called Senmut. Some of those tombs, that's why you'll see some crosses on top of the entrances here, dating back to the early Christian. But this halls was originally halls like this one, and this one used to have a full shape of a statue of the cow goddess, the one who used to live in one of those caves. I believe Hathor, the cow goddess, she lived in one of those caves here. In this area, it's supposed to be the entrance of the tomb of the genius engineer Senmut. It's very long tomb. It goes from here all the way underneath to the open court of the temple. So it's running underneath the temple itself. The Metropolitan Museum house is there. And here, this is the gate, a mud brick gate to some of the tombs dating back to later on the 25 dynasty tombs. There, those halls, as you understand, this is where it's supposed to be a statue for the cow goddess. So the whole mountain was covered with shrines and chapels dedicated to and right in the middle is going to be the river Nile. To help you to imagine, here is supposed to be a canal. And this is the temple now. This is how it exists nowadays. So this was all totally covered up with sand, as you saw on the time of Napoleon in 1790. It was all covered up with sand.
Hey, George, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think while you're showing the video, if you turn your video camera off, like so that we don't see you, I think we can hear you better.
Well, just let me turn my video, turn my camera then.
Thanks. Do you see on the Zoom where it says start video? If you click on it, it should go off.
Yes, now. Perfect. Let's continue then. Here we are. Now we're going to enter now. And it's supposed to be a row of sphinxes on the both side. Some of those sphinxes exist in the Metropolitan Museum as well, dating back to Winlock time. And they were a row of sphinxes on the both side. And a beautiful garden. Trees were brought from a country in Somalia. On the deep heart of the continent in Africa, they brought all the trees which produce all the kind of essence. There is supposed to be the trees here and a complete garden by the open courts. Another look to the Sphinx. This is the oldest Sphinx avenue exists in Egypt, dating back to the 18th dynasty of the Queen Hatshepsut. The first terraces, you got to see it by yourself. It shows the details here on the right of transporting the obelisks from Aswan all the way to Karnak Temple, and how the Egyptians celebrated the safe journey after the obelisk being transported from all the way from Aswan to Karnak Temple. But it's very little details left, and that's why you need to see it, but your eyes, it's hard to take it in the camera. This is the shape of the other terrace, but as I told you, we're going to the middle floor. The middle floor. This is the remains of the oldest, the temple of Thutmose III. Can I stop here a minute and go like this? Because here, in this hole, big hole there, they discovered a statue of the king who built the temple, the old temple, by Howard Carter. And it was an extreme luck because his horse fell over into this little hole. And cleaning the rest of the hole, they found a huge statue exists underneath and rubbed up a linen. And this was the day they discovered the statue of Imhotep. And that's why they call this hole here the Horse Gate. So again, the chapels of Hathor is there, the Horse Gate is here, and this is the ruins of the newest temple. Is supposed to be exist here, but badly damaged because of the earthquake, and the fallen blocks of the mountain destroyed it all, and not much left from the newest temple was supposed to be here. There behind is supposed to be the oldest temple. I will show it to you. Let's continue. So you know this hole, it's called the Horse Gate because they found a beautiful statue, I will show it to you, of the king Imhotep. The second floor, it's two terraces, right and left, and then a chapel for Anubis and a complete temple to Hathor there. We're going to explore it all. But again, another look to the whole site to show you all the little holes where the location of the tomb of the engineer is there. And then this is the outer wall to surround the whole temple. The Metropolitan Museum is housed there. And then the gate of the horse. Karnak Temple is supposed to be there on the other side. We're going to start our tour going to the temple of Hathor, the cow goddess. And there, this is the chapel of Anubis. So a complete temple dedicated to Anubis and a complete temple dedicated to Hathor on the other side. The queen ruled the empire for 21 years and 9 months. And after she died, Tutmosis III, he came straight after her. And probably he's the one who killed her. We don't know how she died and how she's just suddenly disappeared from the whole scene. But probably Tutmosis III who erased all of her images from the temple today. So today we're going to see the queen image and the queen's name. It's all erased and destroyed by Tutmosis III. The reason of this campaign of erasing all those images of the queen is not clear. But maybe because of the jealousy of how she became very popular. And he was worried maybe other ladies will come then after and took her as a role model and wanted to be the king of Egypt again. So the temple suffered a lot from Tutmosis III and from the follower of Akhenaten. But all the image erased of the queen here, it's erased by Tutmosis III. And you know how they related to each other. She's his stepmother, the mother-in-law, and his auntie. Those, by the way, a minute here. This is to collect the rain from the floor of the third floor. And it looks like lion heads, and between them, and the water will come here to the floor of the second floor and run into special channels and goes to another bigger lines exist on the second floor. Egypt never had that much rain, but in case, as I told you, they didn't really like the rains because it's affect all their monuments and all their painting. And one of the good things, the dry weather in Egypt helped the monuments to survive. The best monuments we found in Egypt, they are the one who was buried under the sand. This temple in that great condition because of the sand preserved it for the next generation. 1445 BC, 3,500 years ago. As you can see, the columns decorated with the capital of Hathor, which looks like a woman face with cow ears. And the goddess here, she's the goddess of music and dancing and healing, of course. Again, I wanted to point it to you because when you come again, this is the horse gate, the outsider wall surrounding the complex. There were supposed to be steps here exist to let you enter from here to the temple of Hathor straight. Here, supposed to be steps. So you can enter from here on the steps to the temple of Hathor without entering the whole complex. Mainly for healing. This is the remains of the newest temple is supposed to be here, running between, of Tutmosis III, her son-in-law. The oldest temple is going to be on the right-hand side of Montuhotep, and his statue was found there. This is Montuhotep temple, also cleared and discovered and restored by the Metropolitan Museum expedition of restoration. They found many things here. Lots of gold and lots of jewelries, it's found here. This is the one used to have a pyramid in its middle. So there was supposed to be a pyramid in the middle here. The oldest, 2000 BC. And here between is supposed to be the temple, which is totally damaged. And the fallen blocks of the newest temple was used as a quarry to construct it for other projects. But now we're going to enter the chapel of Hathor to see the temple of Hathor from inside. You know how to read Hathor name? Hathor, her name divided into two halves. Hat, Hor. Hat, the first part means house. So it's both together mean the house of Horus. So it's going to be very easy for you. When you see a square containing a falcon inside, means the house of the falcon. This is how you can read the name of the cow goddess Hathor. Look, the cow goddess, she's here. And the queen, she's going to be on the right-hand side, sitting. Now, she's almost like a goddess now. After she died, she became a goddess, not a queen. That's why the goddess Hathor, she's kissing her hand and licking her divine body. This is what is written here. So I'm kissing and I'm licking your divine body to bless you. The cow goddess, she's famous with the rattle here, the music system. And Anubis, a full shape of Anubis exists behind here with the jackal headed, the god of embalming, the guardian of the necropolis, and the guardian of the graves. Let's have a look here, because the queen with her false beard, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, dressed up like all the king clothes with all the king costumes to be represented like a man. She wanted this society to accept something unusual, to be a woman and to be the ruler of Egypt. As I told you, all the kings was the sons of the god. So she's been advised by the priest to dress up like a man or to be represented like a man, even the false beard. Look, all these beautiful columns, we call it Hathoric columns because it's represent the goddess Hathor, the goddess of music and dancing and motherhood. They all got women face with cow ears, like this full shape of the cow on the walls here. And the statues of the Queen Hatshepsut with the false beard represented like in a death shape with the cross arm. Look at the contrast with the sky and the mountain and the statues of the Queen. Again, this is the capitals of the columns. They are very remarkable. It's called Hathoric columns. Can you see the cow ears and the woman face? So goddess Hathor, she's either in a full shape of a woman with two horns of cow or in a full shape of a cow like how we saw it earlier. By the way, this is all carved out of the mountain. This is cut out of the mother rock of the whole mountain. Some parts were constructed above each other and some part was totally covered up from the mother rock of the mountain. There, the queen, she's kneeling underneath the cow. She's drinking the milk from the cow. It's very clear, the cow ears, and you understand this is what we call it Hathoric columns, or the columns of the goddess Hathor. And you know how to read her name. When you see the square containing a falcon, because her name means the house of the falcon. She's the wife of Horus, by the way. She's the wife of Horus. Look at the carving and the painting, which lasted from 1400 BC. And thanks to the sand, which preserved all this painting and all these colors until nowadays. By the way, they are in a big procession of soldiers. I'm trying to get as close to show you the details of the wigs. And they were boats here, and yellow boat and blue color refer to the water. The soldiers are marching on the position of participating in a festival. And then on the beginning, we will find two foreigners. We recognize them from the feathers above their head. They are dancing, by the way. And the leopard. The queen's supposed to be coming on this festival. And her arrival, it's welcomed by all these soldiers. And she's supposed to be having her boat. Her boat is here. This is the golden throne of the queen. She sat on this golden throne. This is the throne of Egypt during these days. The fan bearers who carry the fans and they are waiting for the queen to arrive to participate in this festival. Look, now we're going to have a look to the queen. She's the queen here. Look how she represented wearing the military kilt. And you know her face is erased, and you know who erased her face and who destroyed her image. Now she's not erased, but the name which is supposed to be exist here, it's all erased. So he didn't erase her image because she looks like a man, but he cut her name. This is the most amazing carving exists in the whole temple, because this is the full shape of the cow, but I wanted to see the details of the muscles. Sometimes we can feel the artist and the sculptor, he's a different person. He makes more, he got more talents. Like, look at the last touches of the fingers, the wrinkles on there. And this is the rattle in here. So lots of details. Look at the tail and everything. And she's supposed to be the queen here in the front, but she's erased again. She's kissing her hand and licking her divine body. I'm ready if you want to ask any questions.
Okay, let's see. In one picture earlier, you showed that there was a garden around the temple. How do archaeologists know that there used to be a garden?
Oh, because I will show you in the beginning of the video, there were those remains of the trees still exist until nowadays. They are dead, dried, but still exist from 3,000 years until nowadays.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that when I was there with you. Another question is, how do they know what the temple originally looked like?
From the remains of the hundreds of pieces of rocks. They worked like in a very big puzzle, and they put all these pieces together to form the end of the shape. Like nowadays you have a puzzle and you put it all together, but then it comes up like a complete picture for you. I stopped here in order to point it to you the name of Hathor, in order to be experts and to read some hieroglyphs. So here, can you see the little square and a little falcon inside? Or maybe this is more clear. The square, and there is a little bird inside. And the square has got another red square inside. So this is the house or the cage of Horus. Hathor means the house of Horus, because we are in her temple. If there is any question, look how the color is amazing now. Any more questions?
Yes. Did cows exist in ancient Egypt?
Yes, of course. And we used to bring them from the land of Nubia, which is not far away. It's in the southern border. Until nowadays, we do have very similar cows to this, which is drawn in the walls. And I will show you today in Nefertari's tomb and in Hatshepsut temple. Yes, we still have the best cows, and the one we're still using it until nowadays usually come from the south, from the land of Nubia.
Another question is, when Hatshepsut's son erased her image, was it just him or did he have help from other people?
No, it's only her, because this has happened also in the end of his reign, and he ruled for 40 years. Only in the last 20 years of his reign, he started this campaign erasing the name of Hatshepsut. But I want to tell you, Thutmose III, he's one of my favorite kings in ancient Egypt. He's the best warrior in the history. And he's the one we call him the Napoleon pharaoh, Thutmose III. I'm not sure if he killed the queen or not, but otherwise I love him, and he's my favorite pharaoh, even more than Ramesses. But let's move on again now. Look, did you saw this terrace here? This is here where they were depicted the journey to land of Mo, because what they expected from the queen, a lady ruling the empire, she will never into fighting. She never into go in military expedition, but she was into trade and keeping this commercial relationship with the other foreign country in a great relation. And the network of traveling by boats, it was very big during the time of the Queen Hatshepsut. Now it's an amazing depiction on the walls of their journey to the land of Bond. The land of Bond could be probably Somalia nowadays. Look, the artist, he wanted to show the houses of the Somalese people during these days. It looks like caves, and those caves built on top of columns to hide the cave from the ground level. They use staircase to go to the level to enter, and maybe this is because they live in between wild animals and they worried from the wild animals. And we understood the journey done on the Red Sea, not in the River Nile, from the amazing type of fish which exists here. So all these wavy lines represent water, and inside the water you're going to see different kind of fish, which is none of those fish looks like the other. They're all different. So this could be Somalia of nowadays. So the Egyptian queen, she sent boats carrying all the Egyptian gifts to the queen of Somalia. And the queen of Somalia, she sent the queen of Egypt lots of gifts back. By the way, here you can see the amazing different kind of fish. They're all different. And then this is the donkey, which carried the queen of Somalia. I will show you her image now. She's here. Let's have a look. She's here. Can you see the lady? She's very big here. She looks like a very fat, big lady. Maybe this was the sign of beauty during their time. Bodies are looking fashionable. It was earlier, the slim people was very fashionable, but maybe the artist, he wanted to show her how she looks beautiful, a sign of beauty during these days. Because here we do have the Egyptian messenger in both image here. And this is the Egyptian gifts, a lot of gold rings, what they expect from Egypt except gold. And all these little things here, they are lots of precious stones. This person here and the same one here, he's the king of Somalia and the queen of Somalia. They are receiving the gifts from the messenger of Egypt. The messenger, he was coming with 9 of his soldiers behind him. And he's called Mahisi. Mahisi, he say, I brought everything beautiful from the land of Egypt to give it as present to the king of Somalia. And the king of Somalia is going to send him back with lots of the Somalese products. The most important thing is the myrrh trees. Can you see the queen of Somalia? She's very clear now. Amazing, the kind of fish, as you still can see, it's all different kind of fish. This is the trees we wanted it from Somalia, the myrrh trees. So there is 4 people carrying the tree to be cultivated here. So they brought it into a basket here to be cultivated in Egypt. How many trees they brought? 30. And they all depicted here, and the number is written that they brought 30 of the myrrh trees. So in this register, we can see that the Egyptian boats arrived and giving all the presents, amazing different kind of fish. And the queen of Somalia, the king of Somalia, are starting ordering to prepare. Here the cows I was talking about. But now again, here in this register, we're going to see 2 registers. One on top, here they are sailors, are carrying the products to be shipped into the boats. Again, the blue color, this is referred to the water. So they are on the gangplank of the boat, carrying the products from Somalia to the boat. On the middle of the boat, you need to look carefully because beside the sail of the boat, there is a baboon here. So they brought also some of the animals existing in Somalia, but they never exist in Egypt. So they were a baboon here, you can see it. And the amazing products were all carried and here shipped it to the boats. The underneath register is going to be sailing back. So they are shipping, they are carrying everything to the ships, and the ships started the journey. So you can see the sailors are rowing and sailing back to Egypt. I'll take you close to the water to ask you about different kind of fish, which you can recognize it yourself. Here the boat and the sailors are coming back to Egypt, the journey from Somalia back to Egypt. Two boats, one in here and one on top. But the one in here, I want to show this one first because I want to show you the amazing carving of the fish, how the artists remember all these kind of fish. And he must did some dive as well to know about all these different kind of fish in order to be able to depict it that perfectly on the walls of the temple. Like here. When we zoom a little bit, you will be able to see, can you see this angelfish? And here, I want you to recognize this one. Can you recognize this one? It's a lobster. Can you see it? It's a lobster. And then, if you move a little bit, there's going to be a fish. And then, this is the squid or the jellyfish here. When we are close to the wall, we will be able to see this fish is opening its mouth. They're all different. Look, this one is different. And ending with the angel fish, which is here. Moving to the top register, I want to show you the dolphins as well, because the artist, he saw some dolphins in the salt water. This is a different fish here. And moving to this is also different. These are the dolphins. Look, dolphins. And this is called flatfish. It's famous with the eyes on top of the two eyes on top. It looks like nowadays the military aircraft. But I wanted to recognize this one. Can you recognize this? What this one with the very long tail and the end? Can you see it? It's a ray. Now the boats arrived, and let's have a look to what they brought from Somalia. The product is going to be displayed on the walls now to tell us and to show us what they brought from Somalia. First, the trees. 1, 2, 3. Each one, there is 10 behind. So there are 10 of this, 10, 10, 30. Can you see the body of a very big animal? Then only the neck is missing. We're going to look again. Here the cows, but here. Look at this is the front leg, the legs, and only the neck is missing. You can tell what kind of animal is this one? A giraffe. And the trees are beautiful. And you know what kind of trees? They are myrrh. You know frankincense and myrrh. The myrrh, something smells very nice, very clean. And it's used to produce essence which they burn it to be used for the god, to please the gods. Here we do have silver rings and kind of jars contain also kind of perfume things. There are a few of those, 5 here and 5 on top, 10 of those jars. On top, they brought something very important to the priests of Amun-Ra when dressed up in leopard skin. In order to help you to see here the heads of the leopard, heads of leopard, and the hands of the leopard. So they are, and here the legs and the tail of the leopard. So they brought lots of leather to give it to the priest to wear it. So who wear the leopard skin? Only the priests. Look at the amount of this red myrrh. This is all essence. It's taller even than the people themselves. So you can imagine the quantity they brought. Here we do have a scale. The scale, they carry some rings of silver, and the scale weighting the amount of silver they brought. I'm talking a lot about silver because silver was very rare in Egypt and it was even more precious. So here they brought a lot of silver, and it's in the scale to be weighted to see how much they brought from Somalia. The silver rings. And here the cow heads, they are to weight, to tell the quantity and to say the weight. I want to show you one of the most amazing pictures of the Queen Hatshepsut. The only one is not erased. The face here is all complete. But if you remember, I told you, if they wanted to write the name of this person, they write it here on the top. So right above the forehead, they write the name of the pharaoh. In 2 cartouches, a religious and political cartouche. So he erased the name and he left her image. I wanted to give a proper look to her face, because with all these man clothes, she never forgot that she's a lady and she's a woman. Look at the beautiful shape of her eyes. She looks very female eyes. A beautiful crown above her head. It's called khibrish, means the blue crown. Now we're going to move to another spot. I want to show you the whole area, how it looks like. Like if you visited one day, you're going to see it. This is how it looks like. A double row of columns in each side, and they're all from the square shape of columns carved in the heart of the mountain. They are 12 in front and 12 behind, 24 all in total. And this is the journey to the land of Bont, or probably Somalia. There in the end is Karnak Temple, the largest temple in Egypt, dedicated to Amun-Ra, the major and the main god in ancient Egypt. The second floor, you can climb the steps to get to the second floor, but the beginning of each of these staircases exists a falcon, and the falcon is standing on top of a snake. And the snake body goes all the way to the top. So here, this is the snake body, goes like a zigzag. And the other falcon is supposed to be here, another snake. And now we're going there to the chapel of Anubis. But before we get there, I want to tell you we found there lots of things got to do with mummification. We found a lot of salt, a lot of oils, which used for making the body smell better. We found lots of small like knives, which used for making the little holes into the body to preserve. So all these rooms, we found a lot of things got to do with mummification. So we do believe these are the rooms were used as mummification institutes. So we call it the rooms of the embalmers. And this is the white and black picture. If you remember, it was all covered up with sand all the way to the top. They are quite big rooms, columns. The style of the columns here is different. It's not this one we saw it earlier, the square shape, but this is called protodor. Protodor is quite a complicated name, but I want you to remember it means 16 side. Each of this column has got 16 side. This is a very big number and very artistic to make it. But I want to point it here. This is the only name left of the Queen Hatshepsut. She's called Ma'at Kara, or Sisib Ankh Amun Hatshepsut, or the noble lady of Amun-Ra. I don't know why this name still exists there. The rest of her names is, maybe it was damaged earlier, the column, and Thutmose III found it already damaged, so he didn't give much attention to this name. This is the only name saved from the hand of Thutmose III. She's supposed to be here standing behind Anubis, who's holding her hand and supposed to be introducing her to his place. So we are visiting the place of this god Anubis now. This is the best part and the best in condition. As you can see, the color still in a great condition. This is how the name of Anubis is written. Anub. And this is a sign, mean a chapel for Anubis, giving long life, stable, like Ra, the king of the gods. By the way, this is the name of Anubis again. The cartouches are empty of the Queen Hatshepsut. And look at the eye and the honeybee, it's all beautifully done. The chapel of Anubis, it's divided into two sides. 6 columns on the right and 6 columns on the left, with a passageway to let a boat of the god Anubis to enter here inside. By the way, this is a beautiful falcon, amazing falcon exists. And she's supposed to be here, standing underneath the falcon. So the falcon was protecting the queen image. And you know who erased the queen image? Do you know? Still remember his name? Thutmose III, the son-in-law of Hatshepsut. she's giving this amazing offering. I want to stop here a minute because the offering here is supposed to be the queen. She's standing, giving offering to the seated god. And you know the god is Anubis. The offering gives amazing offering. All these are offering to the god. The god also is being erased. If you notice, the background of the painting of all the walls, it's not white. It's like blue. So they painted above blue. The image of the god is being erased because a king one day, he called Akhenaten, he decided to change the religion to one god to be worshipped called Atun. His follower, they went inside the Egyptian temples, erasing all the names of the god or in the image of the older gods. And one of those images, the image of Anubis, is being erased. But after Akhenaten died, Ramesses II repainted everything. So this painting dating back to the time of Ramesses, not as old as the time of Hatshepsut. I want you to compare between the painting technique here and the painting of the gods and tell me which one you think it's nicer. Nicer technique and nicer detail on the color between the offering and the gods. I'm ready for any question.
Okay, I have quite a few questions right now. So one question is, why do most of the people or the gods in the paintings and carvings have a very similar arm position, like their arm is in a certain way?
Great. Yes, so they are in different positions. Sometimes they are welcoming you to enter to their place. So when their hands raised up like forward, they are welcoming. If they are crossed above their chest, this is the position of death. And if they're raising one hand, the right hand means blessing by prosperity, health, and happiness when they raise one hand. So what else?
I have 3 questions related to the art on the walls. One question is, why are some of the patches on the walls different colors than in other parts?
Good, because they are done in different period of time.
Okay. Another
Yes.
question is, what tools did they use to create the art on the walls?
Very good question. I like this question because they've used very primitive tools, mainly done by copper and stone tools of harder stone. Like they've had the hardest stone, something called diorite. And the diorite, they use it to carve into the mountain to make the shape of the temple. But then they use the sandstone to polish the walls to make it smooth and keep polishing and making it white and smooth and ready and then to decorate, they use wooden brushes to go into the red ink or the black ink to do the outer decoration. And then they carve everything. If you notice, all this painting, it's in a bas reliefs and they are outside the walls. And then they use the same wooden brushes to paint everything with different color. But I want you to understand something. When you see something, jars like this one, white, understand they are made out of silver. If you found them, they painted in yellow, they are made out of gold. What else?
So on some of the paintings, it looks like they were put on top of the stone of the temple. Were they created before and then put on the temple, or were they carved the reliefs right onto the temple? How was that done?
It's done after. They construct the whole thing and everything plain, and then they work from the top to the bottom. And the way to reach, you saw the ceiling, it looks like a sky. To reach to the ceiling, they got to climb on some scaffolding sometime. And sometimes they use ramp of sandstone, of mud brick ramp to work on the top of the ceiling and to go all the way down to continue the decoration from top to the bottom. Like they work on all the ceiling all in one time. And they work in the top register all in one time. I want to show you the vulture here. The vulture is called Nekhbet. Nekhbet, this is the famous crown of the queen Nefertari, we're going to see she wear the vulture above her head. But I want to point it here, the red color is very strong red color, and we never saw like this red before. It's one of the secrets of her time, because maybe she got this color from one of her friends from other countries, from other queen, but it was very little because it's only in this little chest of the vulture here. This is the holies of Anubis, supposed to be having a boat. And I wanted to recognize this symbol, very important symbol in ancient Egypt. This is the symbol of victory. And represent what? Represent Horus, the son of Isis. And this became the symbol of victory, which decorate all the entrances. So in every entrance in ancient Egypt, I want you to look above the entrance, you will find this symbol. It's called the winged solar disk. Solar disk has got two cobras and two wings. And it means what? It means victory of good against evil. I'm ready for if there's any questions.
Okay, you talked about them visiting Somalia.
Yes.
Do you know if the Egyptians traveled to other locations outside of Egypt too?
Yes, but the other countries was exist during these days were very limited, and they were not much, but they were Libya, and also they went all the way to Euphrates River in Iraq, in north of Syria, and all the way Turkey as well. Turkey was exist during these days. They were called the Hittites.
I'm not, yes, thank you. I'm not sure if you already answered this, but some people are asking how long did it take for Egyptians to build this temple?
This temple, especially, it took them 15 years to construct. 15 years. But here, this is what I wanted to highlight. Did you saw how many colors just to make a little bird here? Did you saw the difference between beige and white? Did you saw the rope which tied in the legs of the cow, two of the cows, and there is a rope to tie it? But I want to compare between this amazing detail of color. This is like 9 colors just to make a little bird. While here, the god, his body is all orange. All of his kilt is yellow. So it's very primitive way of painting. It's not as nice details as the one of the Queen Hatshepsut. I'm ready for any questions.
Okay, did the cobra snake goddess did it symbolize Upper and Lower Egypt?
Exactly. It represents Upper and Lower Egypt. This is very clever to remember. She's the symbol of North and the symbol of South, and then both united together like one big empire. But they were a goddess for North and the goddess of South. One called Wajid, the other one called Nekhbet.
Another question is, what did they use for currency? Did they use gold for currency back then?
No, there were no money during these days, but it was barter. So it's all about the food and the seeds. Look at this amazing vulture here. This is the most amazing vulture you were going to see in all this civilization. Amazing details of the feathers. This is a small shrine for Amun-Ra. We recognize it from the feathers above his head. He's here standing. And it's supposed to be another chapel there, or small shrine for Anubis, because he's supposed to be standing on the middle there. This is a statue for Thutmose III, an image, sorry, of Thutmose III, and was Soker, the falcon god. Horus, he had different names, by the way. He's been worshipped with different places in Egypt with different names. He's called Rahur Akhti, he's called Horus, and he's called Soker. I want to show you the details. This is the name of Anubis, by the way. E-N-B-U, Anubi, Anubo. This is the ancient name of Anubi, before the Greek added the letter S to the name. So the Egyptian call him Anubi. This is the only sandstone exists. Now we're going to the third floor to show you the part of the temple. Until we get to the third floor, I'm ready if there is any questions.
Okay, next question. Since it took so long to build and paint temples, was it possible that people worked on more than one temple at a time?
Yes. It's a very good question, because we needed the mankind. We need the big number of people to work. You don't have to be all artists. In the end of the painting and the sculpting and things, this is a limited number. But to do the carving and to carry these heavy blocks, we wanted a big number of people. So people were asked to come and share in a big project. And according to their participant, they get paid. And as you understand, the way they get paid, it's in the shape of food and drink. So it's a good chance for some of the farmers to go and to participate in one of the national projects, according to these days, and to get paid extra money, extra food and drinks. And this has happened usually during this season after the harvest of all the land.
Do we know, oh, sorry.
Yes.
Do we know how large ancient Egypt was able to influence outside civilizations and cultures?
Yes, we know, because you know the land of Bong, the one we was talking about in Somalia? Hathor, she was the main goddess there. So they were worshiping the Egyptian goddess. So, and they call it, this is the land of the goddess Hathor. So Egypt was very strong and in this time, and it was very effective in other society and other civilizations. She considered to be like how it is America these days. So you can see how the movies and on the TV, on the Hollywood movies are very effective and the whole world watching it. This is what's happening in ancient Egypt. Egypt was very strong. The language was very strong. The religion was very strong. The engineering and the culture was very strong to affect on other countries. What else?
Did the pharaohs get to choose which gods would be worshipped by the people or in the temples?
So it worked like this civilization lasts for 3,000 years. Every, let's say, couple of 100 years, another god started to appear to be the most important one. And then he started to not to be very important, and another god will be worshipped as the most important. On the time of the pyramid, they used to have a god called Betah, and I'm going to show you his image today. Betah, he was like the most important god. But the pyramid is 1,000 years older than the time of Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut, during her time, Anubis and Amun-Ra was the most important gods, together with Osiris and Isis and Nephthys. So it's been changing during this very long time of the history. According to, they were local gods for each city, and according to the importance of each of these cities became, so Luxor became the capital of the whole empire. That's why the local god of the capital became the supreme and the universal. The god became even more important. Else.
So since they didn't have a currency, how would the people, how would the workers, like how would they get paid? Would they get paid in food, or what compensation would they get?
They get paid in, they get food and mainly the wheat, and they get also drinks like wine and beer, and they get paid every 10 days. This is what they call it, the weekly paid. If you notice, the week was 10 days and the month was 3 weeks.
Did they have festivals where the peasants could attend? And is that when they could eat meat, since the peasants didn't eat a lot of meat?
Wow, this is very clever, because meat only eaten during festivals, as we was mentioning, because there was hard to eat meat. Meat was very expensive during these days and was only for royals to eat meat, but locals and everyone will eat meat during festival. And one of the most important festival to this temple, it's called the Valley Festival. And this is when they brought the statue of Amun-Ra to spend an overnight here in this temple. During this night, they used to sacrifice a lot of animals, and all the relative of the people who's buried on the Valley of the King or in the Valley of the Queen or in the commoner tombs, they will be sacrificing animals, and then they will grill this food and they will cook it to eat it to celebrate the beautiful Valley Festival. It's called the Festival of the Beautiful Valley. This is one of lots of festivals in ancient Egypt, but we're talking about something related to this temple. Did you remember the black and white picture we saw it earlier? It was only this gate was exist and nothing from the whole area. So thanks to the Polish expedition who worked in the end from Warsaw University, from Poland, who restored the third floor where we are now, to reconstruct all these little columns, which we can see it here, and all the little chapels where the statues of Osiris was standing in here, the god of death, and where the statues, which we saw earlier, of the Queen Hatshepsut. If you notice, those columns, they look a little bit modern because those added during the Greek time, on the time of Alexander the Great. Because when Alexander the Great came to Egypt, the Ptolemaic or the Greeks, they visited this temple and they decided to change the god who's going to be worshipped here. So almost another 1,000 years after the Queen Hatshepsut, the Greeks came to Egypt, and we call them the Ptolemaic. And they've added the last chapel, which we're going to visit now. And they worshipped here another two gods. The gods were two real people. After they died, the ancient Egyptian considered them as gods of medicine and the doctor gods. So they worship here the doctor gods of ancient Egypt during the time of the Greek. Look at the stars are red here. They're not yellow stars like the one we saw earlier. Blue background with some red stars. So two gods worshipped here. One called Imhotep and the other one called Amenhotep. Easy. Imhotep and Amenhotep. They both were engineers, by the way. And because of their strong talent, the Greeks worshipped them as gods of medicine. And they've dedicated this small chapel to Imhotep and Amenhotep, son of Habu. The most amazing thing I want to show you to here, I want to stop here a second, because can you see how sparkle this bit? By the way, I'm not talking about this sparkle because this sparkle is white, only white. But here there is something different. Compare between here and here, because one day when you come and see the temple, you're going to see some remains of gold here, here, and here. So what they've done, such an important place. This is the Holy of the Holies. This is the last part of the temple, the end of the temple. It must be decorated and painted with the most valuable thing. Not only color like here and color like here, but also the writing was exists here around the door, and this only, these two bits were painted in gold. Have a look. One day when you come and see it by your real eyes, you're going to show it to your parent and tell them, come, I'll show you on the third floor, the painting in gold. How the ancient Egyptians used the gold to paint some of the walls of their temples. I'm ready if there is any questions.
Okay, I know that when we see Queen Nefertari's tomb, it's really easy to see the hieroglyphs. When you do that, can you read some of them for the students?
Yes, of course. It's going to be the writing there is much more clear.
Yes.
Let's read her name and her titles.
Okay.
Yes. What else?
This is a general question, but they want to know what the average temperature is like where you're at.
At the moment, we are in the winter season, but still, it's the best winter in the whole world because the climate here could reach to 25, 30 degrees during the daylight, and during nights. Would you help me, Amy, to tell them in Fahrenheit how it is? 25 degrees.
I'm not good at math. I would say, I don't know, actually. If any of you math teachers can put it in the question chat for me, please.
Yes, and it's around 20 to 30 degrees. But I will figure out and I will send you.
Okay, or
like
somebody.
Also, I'm happy if there is more questions to be sent it through the teacher, and I will answer all your questions.
Okay, I just got the answer. Thank you, Miss Lennox. That would be in the 70s degree Fahrenheit.
This is very good weather during the winter. This is the sun court, we call it, because the sun touches this altar every day early in the morning. And also this is supposed to have obelisks, 2 small obelisks to decorate the altar. And the altar entrance is from here, the steps. And this is also to receive the boat of the god Amun-Ra to rest in it during the festival of the beautiful valley. I think we can move to Nefertari's now in order to give you a little glimpse about the Nefertari, the most amazing tomb on the whole mountain. Because we are very close to the Valley of the King, we are very close to the Valley of the Queens, and we are very close to the tombs of the noble and the tombs of the local as well.
Okay, great. And then Miss Castillo, our science teacher, just said 25 is 77 degrees Fahrenheit and 30 is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Thank you. Okay, I'm excited for Queen Nefertari's tomb. It's so beautiful. I'm excited for our participants to see it.
Yes, let's go, and we'll go straight to the video, and then I will post to you the pictures so we can all share it and we can have a look to it.
Okay.
Let's go straight to the video of Nefertari in order to show you.
While he's getting that set up, just remember Queen Nefertari was married to Ramses II.
And she's one of his favorite, the most favorite, the nearest to his heart. And the only one he loved her that much. He married, what you know, names 9 wives. Nefertari, she's here. This is Nefertari. But I want to show you only one picture because she's always dressed like this inside her tomb. This is what we call Nekhbet crown. Nekhbet, it's the name of the vulture. And she's like a vulture and the wings. And here the vulture holding the shin ring, the symbol of protection. And she got the feathers of Amun-Ra. The beautiful dress she wears 2 layers of dress. A tied fit dress underneath, transparent, so you can see her legs. And on top there is a wider one. This one is very important, called the red sash. The red sash is a rope to go and to make the waist tighter, and it comes in front here. Let's go now in order to show you the tomb. Let's have a look. Look, I have to stop now because she's playing here a game called Senate. And the Senate, it's we found a complete Senate inside the tomb of Tutankhamun, but it's a funeral game. She's playing the funeral game in order to freeze her soul and her spirit to come in the shape of a ba. The ba, it's a human head or the queen head and the bird body. So this is the spirit or the soul. So the entrance is here. Once you enter to the left-hand side, we'll see the queen, she's playing a game. And the game in order to free her spirit. And then she's kneeling in front of the king of the gods, Ra. Ra is here. Ra, he's coming the solar disk between the 2 mountains, and the 2 mountains protected by 2 lines. So this is the horizon of the sun god Ra. A full shape of an ibis, but then she's in a mummy shape. Nefertari inside her coffin here on the royal bed, which is got lion head, lion tail, and we have 2 ladies here, Isis and Nephthys. Here we have very important thing, because those are the 4 sons of Horus. The 4 sons of Horus, they got a human head, a baboon, and a falcon, and a jackal. They are the 4 Canoob jars, which used to carry the organs of the body of the mummified body. There were names written here of all of them. But I will read for you the name, the title of the Queen Hatshepsut. We have Osiris, with his famous green face, the god of the final judgment, who owned the paradise himself. There is something very unusual here. Look at the snakes are watching you when you enter the tomb. And once you move on, entering more the tomb, they are the guardian. They are watching everyone entering the tomb. The number is quite strange. They are 11 cobras. This person can complete them to 12. We do believe this is a genie or here. To the other side of the entrance. So the entrance is there. To the right side of the entrance, there is an image of the queen. She's raising her hand, greeting Osiris. Those are the 4 sons of Horus with Anubis. Did you notice the background is yellow to represent they are into paradise too? And now she's going into the paradise with the rest of the gods. So she's here. She's Hathor, and you know how to read her name, the square containing the falcon. And this Rahur Akhti, the falcon-headed god. And this is Khibri, the scarab-headed god. And the hieroglyphs written here, this is all the titles of the queen Nefertari written in all of her names. But to tell you, the first title, she's called the king's great here. The king's great wife and his beloved. The second columns, called the wife of the strong bull. They usually call the king the strong bull. Here, she's called the mistress of charm and sweetness and love. This is her title, her name. Look how nice. The mistress of the two land. She's a goddess wearing a special red dress with lots of beads. Nefertari, she's here holding the hand of Horus. Horus, look at the difference. Did you see the difference? Horus, the son of Isis, here, the son of Isis. Isis, she's the throne. The egg mean the sun. So Set mean Isis, son of Isis. Nefertari, we recognize her from her name, written inside a cartouche, holding the hand of the god Horus and introducing her to Rahur Akhti and Hathor, she's behind. By the way, she's husband and wife, Hathor. The ceiling is amazing here, with the blue background to look like the night sky. Nekhbet, her name written twice on the both side. The vulture. And look, Isis. I want to show you Isis. Isis, look at that. This is a wig she's wearing. A tied fit red dress with the straps around the shoulder. She's wearing 2 necklaces. One necklace here, it's called the board necklace, and the other one called minat. The minat is here, and one shoulder goes, and it's got like a very heavy thing made out of gold goes on the back here. The symbol of happiness and protection. She's going to be holding the hand of Nefertari, introducing Nefertari to Khibri. Look at the remains of the color. Nefertari. Look at the earring Nefertari she's wearing. She's wearing the cobra earrings. Look at the makeup. Look at the gold necklace she's wearing. The nails, look at the details. And now we're going to enter inside to see Ma'at, the lady who's one feather, the goddess of truth and justice. She's welcoming I told you about the hand position. She's welcoming now. And she's like a mirror on both sides are exactly the same. Her feather is the most remarkable thing above her head. The red band around her head. The writing is amazing. She's welcoming and she's saying, I have reserved a place for you on the necropolis. You know who is he? Osiris. Look at this is the fan which separate between right and left. It's an ostrich fan, open fan. She is Nefertari giving those offering. Look, pieces of meat. Those are loaves of bread, bread. And here we do have bowls, is give smoke, so she's burning incense. And those two skin of animals, it's not the animals, it's the skin, they call it the skin bags, because those skins are full of precious stone. She's giving precious stone, but then she's giving another thing to the other gods. It's like a mirror, but now she's wearing a different earring. She's wearing the lotus earring made out of silver. I told you white is silver, and she's wearing silver. She's giving the same identical offering, but to a different god. He's called Montu, the god of war. The god of war. This is the seven Hathors. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one bull. So there are 7 cows and 1 bull to represent the king. He's the king Ramesses. The 7 Hathors, I'll tell you their story because they are the protected of the child once he's been born like a child for 7 days. They are the most important 7 days. I'm getting you closer to see the earring. Look at the artist, how much he wanted to show her beautiful. If there is any questions. Now I want to show you this. You know this lady with the gods, she got the chair and she got the egg and the T letter, she's Isis. Her sister, she's called Nefertari. You can recognize her, she got a plate above her head. This one called Ra, the king of the gods. But here they're saying the body of Osiris merged with the body of Ra. The body of Ra merged with the body of Osiris. Look at the color and look at the remains.
Hey, George, why are the paintings in this tomb in such better shape than other tombs?
It was just the quality of the paint. This is a sign how much Ramesses, he loved this lady the most. And he ordered to dig for her the most magnificent and using the most precious color they can get. Most of these colors come from a better quality of stones to give better quality of paint. I want to show you this god. This god is called Tot. Tot with the ibis head. He's the god of writing. When you see someone wearing something like this, big strap in one shoulder, he's a scribe. So he's the god of the scribe, the god of writing. And she gives him the ballot of writing here. And this is a magical amulet, looks like a frog. And she's giving the ballot to the god of writing. This is Betah, the one I was talking about, the god of the time of the pyramid, the god of darkness, the god of the craftsman, and the god of the linen. That's why those little pyramids, she's giving like a little pyramid here. This is a hieroglyph letter, means cloth. In order not to carry too much clothes in her hand, she write the word clothes, and she repeated it here on the table. She's giving linen clothes to the god of darkness and Betah, the god of the workmen. I want to show you another closer look to the ceiling and the writing. This is each star to represent the night sky. And now we're going to get out from here to show you the burial chamber. Now we're going downstairs. So the first steps we're talking to these vestibules, and now we're turning to the right to go to the burial chamber, and there we're supposed to be the sarcophagus. The both side. The queen will be on the right and the left. She's giving offering to 2 seated gods and 1 kneeling. The one kneeling, she's Ma'at, she's here, the same one here, with the wings and 1 feather above her head. But this side she's giving to Isis and Nephthys, and the other side she's giving to Hathor and Silket, the goddess with the scorpion above her head. Amazing details, amazing offering she's giving. Jars in her hand, she carry wine. She's giving wine. Look at the lotus earring she's wearing. And she's giving wine to the gods. Goddesses now, only female.
Hey, George, did the
Yes.
ancient Egyptians have to give the gods offerings to be able to pass into the afterlife?
Yes, and they are magical offerings, as we're saying, it's going to continue eternal. They're written by magical words in order to turn and to be into real offering once they go to the paradise of Osiris to please their gods. Look at this image of Anubis. This is the most amazing image of Anubis. But if you notice, the red sash rope around his neck. And look, he got the whip, always with his whip in his hand. It's called flail. And the flail, he's hanging it in his leg. Look how the way he fixed his whip in his leg. Ma'at, she's very important, the goddess of truth and justice, even more clear image of Anubis. And this is the burial chamber. It's got 4 columns, they're all decorated. But now the story is going to be a little bit different because she went to the paradise of Osiris, but then she's into what we call it the gates. She's into the book of gates, and now she's going to go through lots of danger. Both they are welcoming her. And who wear those clothes? The leopard skin. Only priests. So 2 priests on the both side welcoming and directing the queen to her burial chamber, or where the sarcophagus and her mummy should be rest. She's an worshipping position, raising both hands. To go through the gates are represented, and they are gods are helping her to go through this danger, because it's going to have lots of snakes and lots of danger. As we were saying, snakes are here. And the journey, it won't be easy to get united with Osiris. He's here. In the end, she got to go through a lot of danger. Isis and Nefertari. This called Khikhr, the frieze in the top. This called Jet Pillar, one of the talisman of Osiris. They are the gods who got the knife to protect the queen with the knife. The knife looks like a feather. So they are protecting the queen with a symbol of truth and justice. There's something special I want to show you before we end up, because they are demons, by the way, demons. They are the queen. She was a very beautiful lady, and she was very special to the king to make her that special to him. He had more than 100 sons and 60 daughters. You can imagine the number of wives. Between all the wives, he loved Nefertari the most. Only Nefertari he did the most beautiful to him. So the queen, she used to have, look at this. I want to show you something special. You know who she is? She is Hathor, and touching and placing the queen on holding her hand. Look at her arm, the queen arm. She got a tattoo. And tattoo, henna tattoo. This is the oldest tattoo exists in ancient Egypt, and the only tattoo we found it and drawn into the walls of a female. And here the name is very clear. This is the most clear name of Hathor. Hat means house of Horus. Thank you very much for you today, for your attendance. And thanks again for all these your beautiful messages. I love them the most and makes me feel a lot better. And
Thank you, George.
I'm waiting to hear some questions. Send it to your teacher, and anytime I could answer your questions.
Great. So whether you're in 7th grade or 8th grade, if you want to email me, Mrs. Otto, your questions, I'll send them off to George to get a response. Thank you so much, George. This has been a wonderful series. We've learned so much from you that we couldn't learn really from their own teachers like myself. So I really appreciate your expertise. And Miss Bailey, can you join in and we can tell kids what to do now? You're on mute right now.
I think I never Zoomed before. So we didn't want to cut George short at all because what he was showing us was just absolutely amazing. And I was riveted by it too. And so what we're going to do is attendance for your next period. It's like 10:35 right now. So your next class will be the 10:45 class. So you'll go to class, try to get there on time. Staff, if you're seeing just kids in and out, don't fret about the attendance today. We'll really pick it up in fifth period after lunch. But if you have questions, please send them on to Miss Otto, and she will get them to George so that we can get them answered for you. It was just such a cool experience and a cool time. And this is the first time I've ever been virtually to Egypt at a school field trip. And so how awesome is that? And so thank you to Miss Otto for setting all this up and getting everything done and ready. And kids, we will see you in your classrooms this afternoon. Thank you so much. Have a great Monday.
Thanks, George. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.